All right, so jumping into today's lesson, I am really, really excited about today's lesson. I spent a lot of time on this one, and I want to lead by saying, does anybody notice anything different about me today? Ken raised his
You
hand.
you took a bath.
Ken tapped his head for hat, right? So,
No
yes,
hat.
no hat, exactly. And so, a lot of you guys probably didn't consciously notice that I wasn't wearing my hat, but boy, did you feel it. Right? Coming into the group, you felt it. If you've seen my videos, you've seen you've been in these groups for a long time, you've seen me on Facebook, you've never seen me without a hat on, really. And so what we are, but you felt it. You may not have said, "Oh, Andy's not wearing his hat today," but you felt something was odd. Okay. And what we're going to be talking about today is brand. Okay. This is an important element that I feel that all of us need to master because there's a lot of benefits of having a great brand. One of the benefits of having a great brand is trust. Another one is it's easier to convert your people into belief and trusting you and growing with you. They understand that you have the solution. But we're going to break it down what a brand is, what it actually is, how we can cut through the noise a little bit of brand, and ultimately the three core elements of brand so you can go and use this in your business right now because your ads will be more effective. So your paid ads will be more effective. Your organic content will be more effective, right? With a good brand. And so at its core, if you guys are writing stuff down, what I want you to write down is that what a brand is, it's one word for me. And I've really kind of my understanding of a brand has really developed over the years. But really what I think brand is right now is I think brand is an association. Okay. I think a brand is an association. So when you think about a brand, you are thinking about an association between something that is known, something that is cared about or not cared about or liked or disliked, something that is known by the customer versus something that is unknown. That unknown thing can be you, it could be your business, it could be your service, right? So at its core, a brand is an association between something people already know, something people already are familiar with, and something that they don't know. So branding, right? When we talk about branding, it's really teaching, right? It's repetition. I say it over and over and over. I repeat that businesses are about repetition, right? And every repetition that you have, every time you've ever seen me with a hat on, and then you get on the call and I don't have my hat on, you're instantly feeling uneasy because you've made an association between Andy and his hat. Okay. And I've never even talked about my hat or why I wear it or why, but I've worn this same hat for 6 years. I love Car Firearms Group. I'm very close with the family. I think they do great things. And so I have a brand loyalty that I love them to death. So I wear it in tribute to them because I do love that company. So that said, with that branding, with that teaching, it's repetition over and over and over. Examples are, the hat. And another example, a topic that we consistently teach. Okay. So last night, Chris and my son and I went to a restaurant that he had never been to before. Server comes up. Very first thing the server says is, are you the, and he goes like this because he didn't want to say gun at his restaurant. Right. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you take my class? And he's like, yes. So the association was made, guns and Andy, right? The association was there. So a feeling, a hat, a topic, something delivered repeatedly eventually equals a brand. Okay. So this is why I earlier mentioned to Karen, I don't see her background on now, but Karen, Karen is very big in the hunting scene. Oh, there she is in the middle right there. So Karen is big in the hunting scene. And so what does she have behind her? Right. But she has this, what do we call it? What is the official name? Because I'm not a hunter.
It's technically a skull. It's a deer skull, also known as a European mount.
It's a European mount behind her. And I don't even know the name, but I know that it's a hunting thing. And so if she's on Zoom calls or she's dealing with people, they're associating what they know, which is behind her, with what they don't know, which is Karen. Okay. And so there, in my opinion, I have learned that there are three core elements of a strong brand. Okay. Three core elements. And I'm going to talk about that today. And I'm going to do this in a way that is a little bit unusual. Okay. So the first is, and I've got to make sure this is on my screen. It is. Wow, this is terrible. Influence. And we have a lot, and we have very little. Okay. So influence is a big part of the brand. And what I mean by influence is, does does the person, the thing, the element, does it change a person's behavior? That's what influence is. Influence is that we are changing somebody's behavior. Okay. And if you are able to change a lot of people's behavior, you have a lot of influence. If you're able to choose only a little bit of influence, you only have change a little bit of behavior, you only have a little bit of influence. Okay. Here's an example of somebody in your life who has a whole lot of influence to a small amount of people, and that's your parents. Your parents have a whole lot of influence on your life, but a tiny little amount of reach. Okay. So influence is changing people's behavior. And when we think about the history of branding and the term branding, okay, it all began when, lonely cowboys wanted to make sure that people knew whose herd was whose. And they would brand their cow, obviously, to identify each cow and whose it is. And based on that brand, it would influence the behavior of somebody that stumbled upon this cow. Okay. So if they stumble upon this cow and they recognize the brand as Randy's brand, they're like, hey, not going to touch that one unless they hate Randy, in which they're going to promptly eat it. Right. But either way, that brand influenced their behavior. That logo influenced their behavior. Good or bad, it influenced their behavior. So they would treat the cow differently based on that brand. Okay. And so the second element is direction. So we've got influence as the first element. Second is direction. Okay. Okay. This one's kind of a little bit easier to understand, right? Does the association that you have made with your brand bring people closer to you or further away? Does it bring people closer to you or further away? And I have learned over the years, I used to be, when I first started as, in my journey, I got a lot of influence real quick. I was able to change a lot of behaviors really fast. And I had a lot of people come to me and they would try to get me involved in their ability to influence people. Here's a for instance, is that local sheriff in my town would come to me and ask for my endorsement for them to run for election. And then ask me to show up to events and get really involved in the local sheriff elections. I have since this year, I was approached by at least 3 people running for sheriff. And I said, I don't get involved in politics anymore. This is not something I want to associate with anymore. Because what I've learned is that, yes, I can influence a lot of people with, and you guys have that ability too. As instructors and as teachers, you guys have the ability to change a lot of people's behavior. But what you need to understand is during that influence, are you driving more people closer or further away from you and further away from your business? And naturally, when you get involved in some types of elements, which is not wrong, it's not wrong for you to get involved in politics or, people running for sheriff or anything like that. But are you bringing more people closer or further? And I have decided as a business that I want to bring as many people into this movement as I possibly can. So I don't want politics to be something that I am any longer involved in, so that I can bring more people closer to me than further away. Okay. And so we need to be careful who we stand next to or what's behind us or who we're even appearing in public with, right? And, who we're inviting into our videos and things like that. Okay. Because ultimately the third element is reach. Okay. I think that my message that every human life is equally valuable. When you think about what I do here, and what we do, I wish that this wasn't reflecting and glary, but when you think about everything that we do here, the reason that we are in a room today is not because I want to make you guys millionaires, right? is because I believe that every human life is equally valuable and must be protected. And the reason I'm in this room today is so that I can empower you using the skills that I've used over the years to reach as many people with that message that every human life is equally valuable and must be protected. And I believe we're on the front lines of that protection. And so I want that message to be to as many people as possible and not as few people as possible. And so I have made a decision to cut politics out of my business, even though historically, if you guys have ever Googled me, historically, I have been very, very political. It is no longer something that I want associated with my name because I can influence a lot of people. I want to bring people closer to the mission and I want to reach as many people as possible. And that's what a strong brand is. Okay. And so brands are, because brands have the ability to change behavior at scale, that's the economic value of building your brand. Okay. So Karen has a excellent background building her brand. Toby over here and Martin over here. Look at them. They're building my brand with their background in this call today. Jim is building his brand with his association. What do we know? We know the American flag. We know that Jim cares about the country. Chris is building his brand because he is a training facility for security, and it literally looks like he's in a briefing room behind him with his background, right? So everything that we do, everything we stand next to, everything we bring into our videos, it is creating an association that is either going to influence a lot or a few people. We're going to, bring people closer to us or further apart, and we're going to be able to reach many or few. And so here's an example. And this is how this whole thing kicked off for me. This whole brand thing kicked off for me this week is that I was taking pictures of all these books that I was shipping. And this is one of the pictures that we took. And I, not to get political, but I do support Donald Trump, whether people do or not. Again, that's not my mission. It's not my message anymore. But you can see in the back of this image that I have somebody that I do support in the back of this image. And this led to this whole just sitting down, like, do I publish this? Do I not? And it's not because I feel loyal or disloyal. It's because what do I want my brand to be associated with? And ultimately, I want my brand to be associated with the movement, with the idea that every human life is equally valuable and must be protected. That's the bottom line. So not about conservative values or liberal values or, anything woke versus non-woke, none of that, right? My message is I want to be associated with the value of human life. And that when people look at Andy, I'm not an author. I'm not an instructor. I'm out there trying to convince the world not to kill each other anymore. And if they do start, that we can put them down quick, right? That's my message. And so, Donald Trump himself has a whole lot of people's behavior that he changes. Whether he brings people closer or further from his message is dependent on the person, but he obviously has a huge reach as well, right? And so that's the power of a good brand, is that we are going to change behavior. We are going to influence and reach a lot of people, but people will treat your product differently. Okay. Right. People will treat your price differently. Okay. So let's go to another non-political brand, Nike. Okay. If we go to the store and we purchase a Nike t-shirt, we know that we're going to pay more for that t-shirt, even though it has the same dang thread count and sometimes is made from the same factory as a t-shirt from Walmart. But the reason that we are able to, and the reason that we are willing to spend our money on that Nike t-shirt over a Walmart t-shirt and spend 3 times the price is because of the brand. Because we associate Nike with all of the different ideals that Nike has built to associate with it. And so they can run their prices differently. And all of us in this room today, we have a brand, whether we have done that intentionally or not. And I'm not necessarily talking about logo, although that is a 1% part of that. I believe the logo is 1% of your brand. I believe that you are the brand. Because of who you are and because of what we're doing, you have crossed into the brand territory. If you're in the front of the class or you're leading a group of people in your business, you have crossed into brand territory. And that's why branding, starting from little ownership marks on a cow and changed people's behavior when they walked up to that cow, that's why it's so important today to build associations that you believe in. And this applies to every aspect of your business, from that tiny little calendar thumbnail in the back of my photo to today. I no longer want to be associated with a divisive political message because I can reach less people. You need to decide in your business, what is the primary message, right? My message can be summed up in one thing. Every human life is equally valuable and we must protect it. Everything else I do is based around that message, that brand message, right? And so the speakers that you invite onto your stage, the people that you bring into your business and take pictures of, the brands that you collaborate with. Now, this is a big opportunity for your content to grow, is that when you bring in a brand that is bigger than your brand, remember, a brand is an association between something somebody knows and something somebody doesn't know. So when you bring in a brand to your business, if you want to grow, bring in a brand that is bigger than your business and have that association lead to people building your brand as well. Okay. One of the best things that you see a lot of businesses do, they reach out to the local car dealerships, and there's always a big Ford or a big Chevy or a big, Cadillac somewhere in your area, and they're always doing things. Bringing those types of businesses into your business, using their logo to build yours, one of the best ways you can do and build that trust. But everything that you're doing in your business is building your brand so that you are either influencing a lot or very few, bringing people closer or further apart, reaching many or reaching few. Okay. One of the new businesses that one of the new logos we brought on this week here to Warrior Marketing Group is Go Gun USA. I'm surprised he's not on the call today. But let me show you the website here. So this is his product. 35 world champions in a row has used his product, which is a thumb. He calls it the gas pedal assist, which is basically a thumb, piece that is on the side of the gun so that you can maintain muscle memory easier, maintain control of the muzzle easier, right? And there's no question that it works because 35 national world champions in a row use this. But one of the best selling versions of his product is for the SIG P320. Now, why is that association not helping his business right now? Right? And you guys can unmute and answer that question. Why is that association not helping his business right now?
Because it self-fires.
Yeah. Yeah, because right now there's a lot of PR publicity right now. Whether or not the SIG 320 goes off on its own, I don't know. Okay. But what I do know is that people think it does. So one of the things that he wanted me to do was create a funnel for the SIG 320 because historically this has been a bestseller for him. And my answer was, hell no, Joe, I won't go, because the association between that product and his product would damage his reputation. And whether or not the gun goes off or not, I don't know. But I sure as heck know that I haven't gone to a shooting range in the last 6 months where there's not a big sign on the door that doesn't say 320s are banned, right? So whether or not it is malfunctioning automatically, the perception is that it is. And so he cannot, in good faith, advertise that product as a first association with his business, even though traditionally this has been the number one product he's ever sold, and for that particular model, right? So what I want to do now is, we've got 6 minutes left of this part. I want to open up the floor to everybody, and I want you to tell me, just like I'm telling you, that my brand, what I want my legacy to be, isn't about coaching or my book or, the 30,000 students. It's that I want people to know that I invested my life in every human life being equally valuable, and every human life needs to be protected. I want to know what your brand, what your statement, like mine is is to be known for and what your brand is built off of. Murph unmuted first. Go ahead.
Oh,
We have two mottos that we advertise. One, building operator level skill in everyday people. Two, creating confident, competent, and prepared armed citizens.
Huge, man. Say the operator one again.
We build operator level skill in everyday people.
Okay. So in future organic content, what I want you to do is when you're creating organic content or even paid, but you know, it just doesn't have a big of a place for paid, but I want you to give a hook, right? In this video, I'm going to show you how to XYZ. And then as soon as you give that promise, you're then going to give your proof, which is I'm Murph. I build operator type, whatever it was, right? Say it again.
Operator level skill in everyday people.
I'm Murph. I build operator level skill in everyday people. We've trained over 10,000 people here in Massachusetts, and you're in my next class. And then you go into the content, right? So proof, promise, plan.